we at the FMA completely applaud the decision of the IOD to turn it into a professional body, and it requires members to undertake professional development. I think that's a really good step, and I think it sends a very strong message. It's real recognition that the director community is setting itself a high bar in terms of the standards that people need to operate at. Having said that, however tough a requirement like mandatory professional development is, on its own, that will not raise the quality of the community of directors that much. And so, beyond that, if you're a director in New Zealand, I'd urge you to think about your skill set and ask yourself, can you cover comprehensively all of the competencies for a director that you hear about? So if, for example, financial statements bother you, then I'd urge you to do something to address that. As I said earlier, boards will have different people on with different strengths, and every board needs to be a blend of experience and strengths and approaches. And not everyone on every board is going to be as comfortable as everyone else on every topic, and you should use the advantage of the people you've got around the table. But it doesn't mean I'm questioning reliance on other directors or on management to do the job for you. So growing the pool of potential director talent in New Zealand is something that we at the FMA have started to focus on, and we're delighted to have opportunities to talk to rooms of people like you and talk to the IOD about how we can contribute to a broader section of people who are willing to be directors and willing to stay directors. And obviously it's better to have more people to choose from than fewer. So one of the things I wanted to do today was make a bit of a public call to those who are not yet directors to consider taking on that job. You've heard some of what I've said about the expectations on directors. It is true, you need the right experience. You have to be willing to do a lot of hard work. You have to be willing to dedicate yourself to the firm or the organisation over the medium term. But the benefits of that for the firm, for the company, for investors, the economy as a whole, from high quality directors are really significant. It includes the injection of really deep and broad commercial and technical knowledge onto boards, blending diverse cultural and personal backgrounds and skill sets, and asserting independence of life. Directors should reassure themselves personally that the materials that are being put in front of investors tell the right story, that they tell a story that you would be comfortable with given your knowledge of the company. Obviously, boards have different skill sets, and I'll talk about that in a little time. And so the different skill sets of those on the board, they need to be acknowledged and they need to be made the most of. All boards need a blend of directors with a diversity of skill set and approach to function at their best. Some directors will obviously have a better grasp of debt and equity offers and the expectations of the market in terms of content and timing of disclosure than others. And obviously that experience should be used by the entire board. And management, of course, have a much better and more detailed understanding of a company's operations than non-executive directors can achieve, simply because they're not there most of the time. But that is not a recipe for blind reliance. Directors do need to pay close attention, read the materials, ask the questions, keep asking the questions until you're fully satisfied. Challenge the executive and the advisors. You're directing both the business strategy of the company and you're managing risk. And you need a strategy and a process to do both. In financial services, where obviously we have a specific regulatory remit, we challenge the boards of the players, all the firms, both big and small, to show us that they put customers first, to show us that they pay attention to the outcomes they deliver to their customers, and that those outcomes match their aspirations and their claims. What they and what you do as a board, what you look at, how you react to it, how you probe beyond what management tells you, is designed to protect and serve shareholders and, in appropriate cases, customers. So we have seen, in that respect, significant improvements in offer documents, both for debt and equity offers. The new standards for offer documents focus on content and format and readability, with the aim of providing investors with clear and concise and effective disclosure. I spent most of my career doing this, but documents drafted by lawyers, for lawyers, and in anticipation of litigation don't help investors make informed decisions. We made huge progress with the Genesis IPO earlier this year with a really succinct and well-organised offer document. And full marks to the directors of Genesis, its management team and its advisors, because we know how hard they worked to get to clearer and more concise disclosure, to meet the standards that are coming in December, even though they're actually, strictly speaking, weren't in place when they did the IPO. And other companies have followed, such as Serco, whose offer document was probably quite a significant departure from where it would have been a year or two ago. So, as I said, I did used to draft and review those documents for a living. And it was then, and now all the more so when you read the research, incredibly disheartening to think the amount of effort that went into those documents and the little use to which they are really put by the investors. It's something that the policy settings under which the FMA operates are designed to change, and we are passionate that however hard it is, and however naive we might be in some places to expect and try and drive change quickly, we're going to continue to do that. We're looking for a similar response from boards, CFOs and the auditing profession around financial statements and financial reporting. I know how hard it is to distill complex data into readable and succinct documents. And I know that real bravery is required by executives and boards not to take the easy route and just kitchen sink all of the information on a just-in-case basis. But some New Zealand companies have recognised this and are publishing quality financial reporting that investors can follow much more easily. And some of you may be coming to the seminar we're hosting on financial reporting later this month. We applaud the positive approach being taken by many of the boards that we are talking to and their auditors to recognise that financial disclosures and investment disclosures are designed to be read by people who buy securities or by people who advise buyers of securities. It's absolutely critical to don't forget. I started off by saying that directors' duties are largely unchanged, at law at least. I also accept, and all of us at the FMA accept, that practically speaking, the director's job today is tougher than it was, with a lot more focus on it. Nonetheless, for you, for us, the regulators, for the companies you serve, and for the economy as a whole, it is still a job worth aspiring to. It's still a job that provides the opportunity to serve a much higher cause. And I would argue that being a director is one of those rare things these days, and that I think you can really look at it as a job with a genuinely noble purpose that demands the highest ethical standards. As a Brit, standing in a room full of New Zealanders, I hesitate to take my lead from an Australian, but I am, particularly with the Bledisloe Cup coming up, but allow me just to quote an Australian judge on this topic, because I think it's pretty succinct. So in 2011, Justice Middleton, who was giving his decision on the Centro case, which is a well-known case on directors' duties, which in that case covered the duties the directors have in relation to financial statements, he said, "A director is an essential component of corporate governance. Each director is placed at the apex of the structure of direction and management of a company. The role of a director is significant as their actions may have a profound effect on the community and not just shareholders, employers, and creditors." So what he's saying there is that point I was making earlier, that a good board and good directors can have a very significant impact, including outside of the company they serve. So it's a real feature of directorships that sometimes it requires you to serve the interests of people you don't know and you may never know. They might be customers, they might be suppliers, they might be here, they might be in very distant countries. They might be employees who you haven't met. They're likely to be investors, local, offshore, big, small, institutional and retail. And so for those of you who are starting or serving growth firms, high potential firms, or managing big funds, you may often be serving the interests of people who aren't even born yet. So let me leave you with this thought. Don't be put off by the scaremongers. Don't be put off by a lot of what you've seen in the last 15, 20 years. For the big and small companies, take up the challenge and embrace the opportunities you see under the new financial services regime. And tell us at the FMA if you have concerns about how that regime will operate. Tell us what bothers you and how we can support you, because we are determined to do that. I'll leave you with this thought. If you care enough about the company that you lead, and you pay careful attention to what it is delivering to customers, shareholders and employees, I'm completely confident that you can and will do the job well. Thank you.